after public comment, this motion?
Yeah.
27.
Derek will be here in a little bit. It's just
No
running
problem.
late.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm just looking through things.
Good to go? Good to go.
Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June 5th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I'm First Selectman Colin Mull, and I call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 2 is public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? I'll start in the room, and then we'll make our way to Zoom. Ms. Janet, if you could just state your name and address.
Sure. I'm on my way over there. I'm just gonna I have handouts. Here's one for each of you, one for now, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be referring to you so you'll know what I'm talking about. And if anyone else would like a copy, at the end, by all means, let me know. I have some. My name is Sandra Janik, 380 Prospect Street. And before I get started, I would like to first say thank you to our Suffield Police Department and Emergency Services. They were called to my house Monday for a medical emergency, and their response was fabulous. They got there and they were able to get my family member stable and transported to the hospital. So much appreciated and great job. Thank you. Now, I'm sure you all remember me being here the first week in March, at your March meeting. And at that time, I talked to you about comments that were made at a Board of Selectmen meeting back in February by a Board of Education member. And the comments were around our transgender community, the LGBT community, around a course that had that in part. It was, I'm not going to rehash the course, but that's what it was in reference to. I also talked to you about the public comment 2 days later at the Board of Education meeting. For 20 full minutes, parents, students, and teachers got up and spoke about the environment and the climate in our schools in terms of the LGBT community. It is not, their accounts, it is not inclusive, it is not kind, it is not what we in Suffield, what I truly believe most of us in Suffield want, an inclusive community. I'm not going to rehash all theirs. I documented for everyone where you can find all of this. And I came in here that night and I told you this, and I asked you to please, I asked each one of you, and I asked everyone in the room that night to please go home, listen to the recordings. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the recordings and make your own decisions. And that was that. And we went from there. Now on the last, we're jumping from now our LGBT plus community to our people of color community and our indigenous and black population. And a parent at the Board of Education meeting, a parent who happens to be by profession a diversity person, her profession is diversity. She spoke about being called to the middle school by to speak with the, I think it was the principal and the resource officer. I'm not sure exactly who she spoke with. But they were called there, she and her husband were called there because their son had once again been the target of very nasty racial comments and actions. And they were by the same person that they had been made to previously. Now, this was at least the second time her son had been a target, and she wasn't notified. The parents of the student who did the action was indeed notified. And I guess what I took away from this parent's comments, other than the horror that she and her family went through, the trauma of it, was she does not want any other child to go through it. She's urging people to please make sure you're open to know what's going on in your schools, make sure you're open. And she can speak for herself. Please look at the recording, okay? And then last but not least, on June 4th, a letter was sent out to middle school, it was sent out from the middle school principal and assistant principal to advising parents and guardians of an incident that happened the Friday before, May 31st, where inappropriate, as it was phrased in the letter, inappropriate racial remarks were made at the end of the day. And the one thing that is common through all of these remarks, and I'm begging you, please, and everyone out here, please go look at the tapes. I will gladly give you the documentation of where you can find each one so you don't have to ramble through it. Make up your own mind. Ask yourself, what can we as a community, it's not just you, it's not, but they make it clear it's the town, not just the schools. It is a town problem, not just a school problem. And that means all of us. So I think we all need to ask ourselves, what can we do to make this town more inclusive and to actually live up to what we say in our mission statements in our town and our school. Be the inclusive community that we say we are. I think we can do it. I think most people here want to be inclusive. But I'm asking you, please. And yes, I will keep coming back. School is out now. But whenever I hear something like this, I will be coming back and addressing you. And I know I went over my 2 minutes, and I greatly appreciate the time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment in the room? Okay, is there any public comment on Zoom? Any public comment on Zoom? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move to item 3, approval of the minutes from the May 15th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
So this is Kathy Harrington. I move that they be adopted as drafted with no changes.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. I just want to point out that Selectman Mahoney and Selectman Shavitz are on Zoom tonight.
So this is Kathy Harrington. I'm going to make a motion that we add agenda item number 24A to read discussion and approval of dairy abatements to Brick Turf Farm in the amount of $2,821.85. Home and Styles Farm LLC in the amount of $3,308.39. David P. and Deborah Coulter Fusick in the amount of $1,875.57. And Lawrence R. and Susan R. Hastings in the amount of $3,970.32.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So for items 4 through 18, in order to save time and a lot of reading, do any board members have any issues with these reappointments? And if not, my recommendation is to make a motion to approve agenda items 4 through 18 as presented.
This is Jerry Mahoney. I would so move.
All right, the motion has been made via note.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Schwimmer on Historic District Commission? It says here he's up for full member of Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yes, he is on this.
Can he be on both?
He has been, so I
Okay.
don't know if there's, I can double check though.
Okay.
But he has
Been, then
been on both, yeah.
it should be okay.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, item number 19, discussion and approval to appoint new member to the Kent Memorial Library Commission to fill the remainder of Cameron List's term through November 30th, 2027. You guys received resumes from the DTC for Fred Schweitzer, for resident Hess McCool, and then RTC recommendation Joe Craven. Anybody, I guess I'll open it up for discussion.
I'd make a motion to appoint Fred Schweitzer to the Library Commission.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to reiterate that, you know, I guess we can't, Mr. Schweitzer's biography or his information is stellar, and I don't really care what letter is after his name. I think he would be a spectacular addition to the Library Commission.
All right, thanks, Pete. Is there any other discussion?
Sure, this is Jerry Mahoney. I don't think it's necessary to go into everything that we talked about at the last meeting. I will say that we are fortunate to have a good group of well-qualified folks that would benefit the commission.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Is there any further discussion?
I would just comment what Pete said regarding Fred's background. When I've looked at the resumes for different commissions over time, few come with such a complete background and bring such a broad perspective to the position. I think we would be very lucky to have him join the commission, and you would add a lot to it.
All right, thank you. We'll just add that, you know, we're fortunate to have the volunteers we do volunteer for these positions, but we also wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for certain actions. So that's my point of view. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye. Opposed?
Against.
All right, motion fails.
This is Jerry Mahoney. I would move that we approve Joe Craven as a new member of the Kent Memorial Library Commission to fill the remainder of Cameron Lisk's term through November 30, 2027.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there any discussion?
I have some comments. I read his resume, which is very limited. I didn't see any connection between the candidate and the library. He didn't express any involvement with the library, that he knew what was going on at the library. It's not clear to me why he would even apply based on his resume. I don't know the gentleman. When I look at all the candidates we have before us, and I don't see his qualifications besides him being a Republican, and that's limited. It should be about who's the best candidate.
All right, thank you, Mel. I just want to point out that he didn't send his resume. It was just a description of what he's done.
No, but that's all I had to go on. I mean, that's all we have.
No, for the record, that's all, in case somebody asks for a resume. There was none sent. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
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 Hearing none, motion carries 3-2. All right, item number 20 is discussion and approval to appoint Amanda Moore as Director of Finance, effective 6/6/2024. So, per the charter, the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance need to appoint any new Director of Finance. This past Monday, we officially hired our new Director of Finance, so I'd like to welcome Amanda Moore and introduce you guys. She's worked for the town of Windsor Locks for almost 10 years, 8 as the Finance Director and 2 as the Assistant Finance Director. We're excited to have her, and she's here with us, so do any board members have any questions for Mandy? And if not, I would entertain a motion to appoint her as the new Finance Director effective June 6th, 2024.
So moved. This is Kathy Harrington. I don't have any questions. I just say welcome to town.
You're welcome.
All right.
I'd like to add, I mean, she's got quite the qualifications for the position. I think we were lucky to get her.
Thank
And
you.
I did have a question. Did she go to Spalding?
All right, motion has been made. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, Mandy, appreciate it. All right, item number 21 is discussion and approval of local permitting program agreement with Southwick. So this agreement was established 5 years ago with Southwick to settle any disputes between Suffield property owners on Congamon Lake and the town of Southwick. Southwick had issues with Suffield residents not registering their docks and boats properly or at all. So to resolve these issues, the former First Selectwoman and Board of Selectmen approved an agreement with yearly escalators to help pay these expenses and mitigate further issues. While that contract did not make Southwick whole in regards to how many docks and boats were out there, this contract aims to complete that. So I've asked them a few more additional things. I asked them to perform a outside audit on the boats and docks based off of their account, which they used volunteers for before we agreed to it. I also asked that they add a resident of Suffield to their Conservation Commission, a voting member, because they're the ones that oversee the lakes, and I tend to get some complaints from that area where they feel like they don't have a voice, or that Southwick exerts a little too much power over there on them. So you guys have the contract. You guys have any questions? I'm happy to entertain or answer what I can. Unfortunately, one of the members of the select board couldn't make it, but it's a pretty simple contract for you guys. Have any questions? I'm going to open up the floor for discussion.
They agreed to your request?
Yeah, so they agreed to it. They just have to double check on the voting member for like their charter or
Yeah.
whatever runs the town. They weren't sure, so at minimum, they said an ex officio, but only a voting member, so we're gonna wait for that.
Okay.
But if you guys are okay with the agreement as it is, we can wait.
I have no problem with the, as written. My question is, how does someone from town get appointed?
Well, I think we're gonna have to make a call out to see who's interested, and then kind of go from there. Maybe as a board, we can select somebody. It's a good question. I didn't really give that too much thought.
Do you know, this is Kathy Harrington, the only question I had, because I don't recall, this might have been before my time, or maybe right when I got on the board, are these amounts consistent with what they were with the initial agreement, do you know?
No, the initial agreement was $200 a year.
That we
So,
paid?
correct. As the escalator, this is based off of their count on their audit, on how
Okay.
many boats and docks Suffield has out there.
So we have like a 3,000 one year, 3,900 another year, 4,900,
Correct, so for this July, we pay the 3,000 we're at,
okay.
and then we'd escalate $995 every year for the next 5 years. And that's why I want to get the outside audit done.
To make sure they're accurate numbers.
So if they're, let's say their audit's not done and they haven't gotten an answer on the member that, or the conservation, I see in here, there's a clause for missed payment. Would that be a missed payment if we don't send
No,
them a check
because
for the first?
we're not going to sign this until they do that.
Right, okay, okay.
Okay. So you're kind of getting pre-approval
That's-
from us then, as long as everything works
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, that's
As
all.
long as
Yeah.
they meet those two requirements, then,
Okay.
as long as you guys approve, I'll sign off on it.
This is Kathy Harrington. I make a motion that we approve the local permitting program agreement with Southwick pending the resolution of the two issues noted by the first selectman.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item number 22 is discussion of right-of-way ordinance, and we have DPW Director Lee Corbett on Zoom. Just give me 1 second to find him. Lee, just to let you know, I allowed you to talk, so you are not on mute anymore.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll start it as a draft policy, has become a draft ordinance. As stated in previous meetings, the purpose of this is to better protect the town and public's infrastructure investments by requiring permits for any excavation of roadwork. Do any members of the board have any questions or recommendations? This is based off of the town of Windsor's ordinance. And I know the town attorney and Lee have been
we have any history of how often this occurs, that people want to do something?
Please, that's something.
Yeah, as far as amount of times per year, Mel, unfortunately, we don't have an exact count, but we did just, when I had first come on, back in December, we had an issue up on Hill Street, where we had to jump in as the Department of Public Works and take care of an issue that the homeowner was gonna try and take care of themselves. We're cutting the road across, and trying to do work themselves, so this is gonna kinda not stop that necessarily 100%, but this will at least get the town involved where, you know, people know now that they have to contact the DPW and that there's a process to it. And, you know, there's just been situations throughout town, over the years where we've paved a road and then whether it's Connecticut Water or Eversource or any other utility company wants to come in and get into the road. So it's just kind of letting these companies know and contractors know that there's now a process with the town and we're gonna be inspecting their work to make sure it's up to par so that our roads are not left in bad condition.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi Lee, this is Kathy Harrington. So the questions that I had, I think were mainly addressed by the recent edits that you made, but just so I can clarify, we're suggesting a fee of $50 for each application and $250 for a penalty or a fine, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then you changed it from that the Board of Selectmen would approve the application to the Director of Public Works, correct?
That is correct, and the reason for that was that I was also speaking with our head of planning and zoning, Bill Hawkins, and you know, we just both had a concern that this could hold everything up, being that the Board of Selectmen meets every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Should there be an emergency arise or something needs to get done quicker than that time period, and being the fact that it would be me out there inspecting the work, just makes sense to let me handle that as Director of Public Works.
No, that makes perfect sense. One thing I forgot to ask about the fee, is the $50 fee, is that consistent with what Windsor charges? Because I know we're going off of their ordinance.
That is correct. Most towns are charging about $50 fee.
Okay. And then my last question, I just wanted to make sure I understand paragraph 5, where we talk about revocation of permits, which is in your sole discretion, but it has to be for one of the 5 enumerated reasons, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's not just willy-nilly, it has to be for one of these reasons.
It has to follow the guidelines for the reasoning, correct.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have anything? The director? All right, do you guys need some more time to think about this, or what are your thoughts here?
I mean, we don't have approval on here, we can amend the agenda.
Yeah,
Just as
and it has to
discussion.
go to town meeting to be passed as well.
Right, yeah,
So-
and I have a bunch of things to go to town meeting, so I thought I could add this
Yeah.
towards late summer. Something we want to consider for September's meeting, because we don't have a July, or August meeting.
August, Jeff?
Yeah, you guys want to do August?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Jerry, Mel, do you have any issues with August?
No.
That sounds fun.
All right, Lee, thanks for your time, appreciate you answering those questions.
Thank you all for having me.
Thanks,
Have a
Lee.
great night.
You as well.
All right. Moving on to discussion and approval to remove zoning regulations from the town's published ordinance book and publish on the town's website. So I sent this board a memo from Town Attorney Derek Donnelly in regards to removing the zoning regulations from the published town ordinance book, which would allow us to publish them on the town website. The memo goes into further detail regarding the current issues, which are that the published ones on, I think it's E360, they're not updated, they don't update, so people are pulling up old zoning regulations and they're not getting the actual updated ones. So we just want to be able to have them all in one spot, or kind of makes sense for everybody to see them. Anyone have any questions or issues with this? Derek's not here with us. Yeah.
No, the door just opened, so maybe he'll walk through the door.
Might be.
But I just think it makes complete sense, because if you need to adjust something that doesn't need town approval, you can, like, if we change something that doesn't need town approval, it can be adjusted the next morning,
Yeah,
and
correct.
it can go right up onto the website, so it's efficient.
Yeah, and Jerry Mel, attorney Donnelly just stepped in, so he's here to answer questions. We're actually talking about the zoning regulation.
Yeah, you guys are fast,
We
so.
are. So I think the
When I
big,
said I could come a few minutes late, I was like, I figured 20 minutes, it wouldn't be that far. Yeah, so, I mean, as I said in the memo, I mean, I think the real impetus behind this is the confusion that we get from the two different sets of regulations. So when we did the ordinance book, the whole idea was to have the E-code 360 available, so you can easily access the ordinances. Kathy, you were on that commission, seems like a long time ago. And at the very end, we said, oh, should the zoning regulations be in this, right? They had proposed that they should be. At the time, we thought it was a good idea, and it's just proven to be unworkable. So as of, for instance, when we do an ordinance update, we send it to E-code 360, they eventually update it when it gets there. Our zoning regulations have changed like 6 times since then. Anytime someone comes in with a proposed regulation change, you know, that's what's gonna happen. If it passes, it's gonna get updated, and we're gonna need to update it right away. So every town, if you look at it, including us, has, our planning and zoning department has a copy of the zoning regulations, the most updated version of it, available on the website at all times. And I think getting it out of the ordinance book and just leaving it on the website is the best way to do it.
so I think the question that some of us had was just procedural. Is this an actual ordinance change? Does the ordinance say that it's supposed to be included within the book? Or, no, is it something we can approve to just say, let's publish it online on their own webpage?
Yeah, so the way the planning and zoning regulations change by statute is through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
So there's nothing in the planning and zoning regulations that say it has to be included in the ordinance book.
Okay.
That was literally our decision at the town meeting that approved the ordinances. So, so ideally, you know, the proper way to do this, if you were to remove it, you would vote to remove the regulations and refer it to town meeting.
Okay,
And
so
then when the town meeting approves the ordinances, essentially it would remove the ordinance, remove the section of the ordinance book that deals with the zoning regulations. So I did include, I think I included some language
Yep,
at the bottom of the memorandum I did.
so that's what we would be, that's what we would be approving, that would then go to town meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
so if you see the memo, it starts at the bottom of page 1 and continues on the bottom of page 2. And for the benefit of the public and those watching at home, it just says removal of publication of subdivision regulations and zoning regulations from the town ordinance, access to regulations on the town website. And it would read, Section A, the town of Suffield shall remove the text of the subdivision regulations, Chapter 310, and zoning regulations, Chapter 315, from the town ordinances, should be plural, and delete the entirety of Part 3, rules and regulations from the town ordinance. Part B, the town of Suffield or the Suffield Planning and Zoning Commission shall publish or cause to be published the subdivision regulations and zoning regulations on the town's website for public access and shall ensure that any amendments to such regulations are published within a reasonable time. And I think that does, you know, not only has the benefit, not only has the benefit of letting folks know where they are, if they do go to the regulations to look for them, it directs them where to go, but it also gives clear instructions to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Hey Derek, this makes sense to me. If we're going to have to go to a town meeting to get this approved, are there any other areas that we could look at? So we take more than one if there's others?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have, I can't remember off the top of my head what's already passed and what hasn't, but yeah, we've got the blight ordinance, we've got some small changes to the tax assessor's ordinance.
Yeah.
We've got a few little ones, so I think I think the plan is, as I understand it, to have a meeting or a town meeting at some point in the near future and just kind of address all of the outstanding ordinances that have passed, the ones that are changing, and do that all in one fell swoop.
That makes sense. It'd be a very exciting meeting.
I mean, maybe for me and no one else.
There's a lot of good ordinances there.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
All right, does anyone have anything else for Derek?
Yeah, so I don't think we need a motion on that, do we? Because we didn't do a motion on the right of way. Or do we?
Well, if we want to move this forward,
Do we, yeah, I think we have to make a motion to move it to
which would be
town
this,
meeting.
Okay,
yeah.
so, all right, so this is Kathy Harrington. I would make a motion that we approve the language to remove zoning regulations from the town's published ordinance book and publish on the town's website and send to town meeting, refer to town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Because we didn't approve it. All right. The motion has been made. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Selectman Mahoney says aye. All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Selectman Mahoney, I just want to let you know you're on mute. I'm not sure if you know that.
I'm on mute?
No, you're not.
Oh.
All right, motion carries.
Sorry about that. Yes, I did vote in favor of that motion.
Thank you. All right, item number 24 is discussion and approval to transfer funds from contingency to replace town hall and facilities vehicles and refer to Board of Finance. So if you recall, 2 years ago, I came and requested money from contingency to replace some of our old 90s Crown Vics and outdated SUVs that are on their last leg. We continue to make repairs, and last year ended up finally buying a vehicle with those funds, and I'm looking to try and replace 2 more, one last one here at Town Hall and one more over at the annex, which is used by the facilities in DPW. I sent you guys a spreadsheet showing where our contingency is going to most likely be at by the end of the year, which is right around $420,000, so it's quite healthy. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to entertain those questions.
How much would you be asking for exactly?
With the current rates, we're looking at like about $25,000 for a vehicle, and it looks like, still appears that used cars are at the same rate that they have been the past couple of years, so it makes more sense to purchase a new one, get the warranty on it, and have that for like 10 years.
So you're looking to do 2 or 1?
Ideally 2, if the board's so only move to do 1, I'm fine with that too.
So what are the mileage, what's the mileage on the 2 cars, and what are the average repair costs per year in each car?
So I have to get you the repair costs. I think that was something I sent like 2 years ago, but the one Crown Vic was over 100,000 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one is hard to tell because it's those engine hours. It's an old police vehicle.
Okay.
So while it might read over 100, it could be easily engine hours 200, 250,000.
Yeah, if it's an old police car, it's,
That's what we.
they
that's
turn
what
those in
we-
at 75,000, so it's probably at 100.
Yeah,
So-
we've had it at least the whole, my 2 years.
Okay. And this is the purchase of 2 new vehicles, brand new?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
There just seems to be better value. When we went to purchase a used one, we just didn't see the value at $16,000 for 80,000 miles.
Okay.
I apologize if you already said this. I think you were approved to buy 2 in the last year or 2, and you only bought 1, that's correct, right?
I was approved to buy one.
You approved to buy 1?
Yeah, correct, and I
Okay.
bought one.
You bought
It was
one.
used. It
Okay.
was supposed to be used, but then I came back and said, hey, no, the value's not there.
Okay.
We ended up buying a new one.
So this is Kathy.
Do we get
Harrington.
Do
Sorry.
we get any price break if we buy 2 as opposed to 1?
I will see what we go out to bid on this, so we usually try to get the best price with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can buy it through the state with their
Yep,
automatic.
which they've already bid, so.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this is Kathy Harrington. I'd make a motion that we approve the transfer of $50,000 from the contingency to replace town hall and facilities vehicles and refer to the Board of Finance for the purchase of 2 vehicles.
Correct, thank you. All right, the motion has been made. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Item number 24A is discussion and approval of dairy abatements to Brook Turf Farm in the amount of $2,821.85. Home and Styles Farm LLC in the amount of $3,308.39. David P. and Deborah Coulter Fusick in the amount of $1,875.57. And Lawrence R. and Susan R. Hastings in the amount of $3,970.32.
Kathy Harrington, so moved.
Motion has been made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item number 25 is public comment. I'll start in the room. Is there any public comment? Oh,
I just had curiosity, did you table, or did you have any questions on items number 22 or 21? Because I did come in a little late for this.
no, we're actually going to put 22 on for August for approval and for town meeting.
Okay.
And 21, we approved.
Okay.
Contingent on 2 items.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Is there any public comment in the room?
Well, just, I'm sorry, can we revert back, because Derek's here now, he can answer the question. So part of the, going back to, I'm sorry, I'm referring back to agenda item 21, discussion approval of local permitting program agreement with Southwick. And our town of Suffield wants a voting member on their conservation commission. Will they be able to do that? Will they be able to approve that as a non-resident being a voting member of their conservation commission?
We've asked for it, and we're waiting for them to tell us otherwise.
Okay.
I am by no means an expert in Massachusetts municipal or conservation law, so.
Good tap dance, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. They were gonna look into it and get back to us.
Okay,
And that we approved pending that.
Right.
All right, anything else?
no, that was it, that was my only questions.
Sorry about that, Miss.
That's okay.
If you could just state your name and address for the record. Thank
Sure.
you.
Tessa McCall, 10 Satula Road. All right, so once again, thank you for the consideration for the Library Commission position. Though I didn't get it, I will continue to do whatever I can to support the library and make sure that our library remains open for all citizens. At the Board of Selectmen meeting on May 1st, First Selectman Mull announced a new library director would start within a month. Now I see that position is once again open. I've heard it's because the chosen candidate declined due to concerns about the Library Commission's support, a commission now almost entirely appointed by this board. I hope that First Selectman Mull addresses this in his updates. During my interview for the Library Commission, Mr. Mull expressed strong opposition to censorship, a position I support. He also stated a desire for the library to return to normalcy, again, a position that I share. However, previously appointing a known advocate for censorship seems to contradict this goal. In addition, at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, both Mr. Mull and Mr. Mahoney prioritized appointing a Republican to the commission, even acknowledging it was an act of, these are my words, retaliation against a DTC member. Mr. Mahoney's exact words were, quote, "The person who engaged in bad behavior should not be rewarded," end quote. Must the entire town suffer because of one person's actions? Are the library employees and patrons collateral damage in a political feud? Ultimately, it's the citizens of Suffield who are being shortchanged, not the previous commissioners and not a DTC member. As I feared in October, we will struggle to find a qualified library candidate under these circumstances. I truly appreciated Mr. Parks, the library commissioner appointed at the last meeting, regarding his commitment to prioritize his love of Suffield over politics. I do not know anything about Mr. Craven. I hope that he does the same. This isn't sour grapes on my part. Political affiliation is irrelevant to me. What matters is our libraries, open access, and serving all of Suffield. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment in the room? Mr. Switzer, could you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Fred Schweitzer, 165 South Stone Street. I say this meeting no disrespect or casting any aspersions on the person you appointed to the commission tonight. I don't know this person. But I'm disappointed. Of course I'm disappointed that I'm not going to get the opportunity to be on the commission, but that's not really the point. Back in January, I think, when the whole subject of who was going to be on the commission came up, Selectman Harrington made a big point of saying this is not about Republicans and Democrats, if I remember correctly, and you spoke passionately about your disappointment in the behavior of some members of the commission and your desire to see that change. Twice now, you've had in front of you two folks, Tess and myself, who, as far as I know, have engaged in no bad behavior, no behavior that would disappoint you or anyone else on the commission. Selectman Mahoney, as Tess referred to, made the argument that to have, if I understood it correctly, either myself, I'm a Democrat, I'm not a member of the PTC, but I am a Democrat, or Tess, would be rewarding the bad behavior of an individual in town. I have to say, I still don't understand how either Tess or I being on the commission rewards anything. I come to the conclusion reluctantly that this is extremely political and that it is about having Republicans on the commission. You had an opportunity to appoint an unaffiliated, is that what they call it here? An unaffiliated person, you didn't do it. So, and it's very disappointing to me that is how you would carry out the trust this town is putting you by making that the primary criteria. I also have to say, and I won't go on about this, I have in the past, I'm disappointed that here we are, it's June, it's Pride Month, you've heard me talk about this twice in the past, and there's nothing, unless I missed it, there's been nothing from town leadership acknowledging Pride Month. There's been something, I'm sure you'll point it out, and I will apologize for that statement. But I've spoken about it, I've written to the Democratic selectmen about it, I've heard nothing, nothing's been done, and to me that silence is just deafening. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment in the room? All right, seeing none, is there any public comment on Zoom? Mr. Gothier, just give me 1 second. Mr. Gothier, go ahead.
Hi, Dave Gothier, 3219 Phelps Road. I understand that come July 1st, the landfill fees will come into effect. I have been trying to find the public notice for that, and I cannot find it. I just recently, within 5 minutes, have been on the town's website, the DPW website for the landfill. There is no information there about it. The ordinance requires a 30-day notice and a publication. It also requires a public hearing. And so that being said, I can find no evidence that come July 1st, you can institute those fees. I will say that I am in favor of them, but I'm not in favor of our town management not obeying the local laws that are in place. Secondly, I just want to say for Mr. Schweitzer that I believe tonight the pride flag is flying over the Connecticut state capitol. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on Zoom? All right, seeing none, I will move to item 26, which is Selectmen updates. So I wanted to thank everybody who was able to come out for the Memorial Day Parade and all those who set up on their day off, to include the IT, DPW departments, VFW, Fritz King, Chris Lambert, first responder units, and Bill Marito. Thank everybody for coming out to the FOI training we had 2 weeks ago, and thank Chris Lambert and Derek for getting us set up, so appreciate it. Our summer fair is in less than 3 weeks. That's June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. I want to remind everyone here that there is no regular meeting in July for the Board of Selectmen. currently in contract negotiations for new CBAs with the DPW and fire union. Our Suffield High School graduation is this weekend, so I'd just like to congratulate all the seniors and wish them the best of luck on their future aspirations. And just an update on the charter revision. We had our first regular meeting, and Kathy, you're next officio a little bit, and our regular meeting schedule is set, and we have a public hearing tomorrow and a regular meeting prep at the police department.
Yes.
I have a library director update, and we were turned down by the one we made an offer to, so we are again looking for a new library director. And then you guys met Mandy, our new finance director, tonight. And that's all I have. Is there anything you guys want to share?
This is Kathy Harrington. I just have one shout out to our youth services director. I don't know if people know that Kelly Giannuzzi competed in a rather large High Rocks fitness competition over the weekend in New York City and came in second in her age group and 7th overall of all women and qualified for the World Championships of this event. And what's even more impressive is Lance Armstrong also competed, and her time was better than his by probably 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. So congratulations to Kelly. She's done just great things for our town. She's a wonderful person, so great job.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question. It says on the agenda, we have action on executive section. Can we do that without identifying? I thought we'd had this discussion, and we have to identify before we can vote on something. What an item is.
I think we always, for executive session, I think we always put action on executive session in case it's required. You can't take a vote in an executive session, so.
No.
If an executive session requires a vote, it's got to be on the agenda for afterwards.
Does the item have to be on the agenda? That was my question.
It is on the agenda.
Do we have to specify? That's all I'm asking.
You specify what action you're going into executive session for, and the agenda does because it says litigation. But because we have no idea what, if any, action would be taken, you can only spell general action on the agenda. Does that make sense, Mel?
Yeah,
We can discuss this afterwards, but is there any other selectmen updates, anything you want to share?
no.
Okay.
So this is Jerry Mahoney. I was just going to add that Kelly Giannuzzi, in addition to the athletic prowess described by Selectman Harrington, she also ran in the Dustin Doyle Memorial race as well.
And she won her age group in that as well.
Well, congratulations to Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm moving on to item number 27 is executive session litigation.
So
Entertain a motion.
this is Kathy Harrington. I move that we enter executive session to discuss litigation. We invite the town attorney, Derek Donnelly, to join us.
All right, motion has been made. Any discussion?
No.
All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Selectman Mahoney and Shavitz, I'll give you guys a call so you guys can get in on that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Jerry?
Just gonna put it on mute.
Meet them all. Yeah, working.
Unmuted. Oh, I guess I never stopped recording. All right, coming out of executive session at 8:21. There's no action on executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight.